if the West could actually see and internalize how the enemies of Israel and the enemies of Jewish people think about Israel and about Jews, maybe they would be less likely to make the mistake of throwing Israel under the bus. I don't know, just my guess.
Is it a litmus test, do you think?
What?
Is it sort of a test or something? Is that why it feels so? Because here's the thing, okay? I, as an Israeli, like I love, with all due respect to the attention and the importance and being put on a pedestal, there are a lot of atrocities happening, right? Now, before, whatever. But there is something that is on about Israel that from both sides is very, very emotional, even if it on paper is from people that do not have anything to do with us specifically.
Like me.
For example, yeah. There is something like how do I describe it? Like unnatural, like unique, different. Like for Taiwan is just gonna be a disaster like that. Like 50 million died in by Mao Zedong hands, and like like losing Taiwan would be a disaster that is unfathomable. But nobody talks about it, and nobody is as emotional about it. And I feel like Taiwan and Israel are very similar, both in the geopolitical position of Taiwan is completing the barrier by having Taiwan, the Philippines, and Japan being the barrier between the United States and China, if China chooses to actually invade America by the sea. And the same way Israel through Cyprus and Greece and then Italy is a sort of the water border of that is defending Europe. On the geopolitical end, and technologically wise, it would be a disaster for the world's technological advancement to lose both Taiwan and Israel in a very similar way. But the emotions are on Israel.
Because one of the factors is that the Taiwan-China situation is so different on multiple levels. One is that with China and Taiwan, you're dealing with basically the same people with officially the same name, officially the same state name almost, threatening each other and trying to, with Taiwan just trying to exist independently from the communist influence, but China saying, no, we are the legitimate China, there's only one China.
Okay, and we're in the middle of the Islamic Sea, so we're supposed to be Islamic. This is the same logic.
No, but so over there it's with China and China, just the big red bully China and the small independent authentic China, if you want to call it that. With Israel, another aspect is also that it's too far away, and this is just something very natural and very human, but it is both geologically and also visibly and linguistically, audibly too far away from the West and the Middle East and the center of our world right now, right? So when something happens in the Far East, as we often describe it over here, it doesn't matter quite as much because it is not as relatable to people as a conflict that happens in Europe or in the Middle East. It is not something that we see as our problem immediately. However, these are all small issues. The one big issue is that with Israel, as said, on the one hand, we are dealing with Islam, with the Islamic world, which is, I don't know, 1.8 billion, 1.6 billion people right now, a huge part of the world population that is very relevant here in the West, in Eurasia, that has a long history of fighting and of being in the West, of being in the Middle East, in North Africa, and all of that world, or much of that world, is so much obsessively focused on Israel for religious reasons. Not mostly for political reasons, for mostly religious reasons. So they are so much focused on that. Because they're so much focused on that, and because Israel is being mentioned again and again and again by these people, this is also something that is necessarily relevant to the West and the Middle East in general, not just among Muslims, but also to others, because they hear the obsession with Israel all the time. It automatically becomes relevant to all of us, and to everyone who is interacting with Muslims, where then we are subjected to the test of whether we will listen to the Islamists when they claim to be the victim in this conflict, or we see what's actually happening, and we see that they are actually obsessively against Israel and against Jews. So this becomes part of a larger geopolitical problem that no longer concerns only the Islamic community, but it starts with them, and it then concerns all of us, the rest of us. But it's also because Israel, Jewish people, have been a long, crucial part of Western society, of North African society, of Middle Eastern society, in terms of religion, in terms of culture, historical interactions, in terms of living together, in terms of, I don't know, business interactions, and so on. I mean, Christians read the Bible, and in the Bible you read Jews, 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 Israel, 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 Jews, Jews, Israel. It's the same thing, you know. So obviously this matters. Jewish people matter. Israel matters. This is a very big concern. This isn't just restricted to Israel or to the Jewish people. It grows out of that and concerns everyone. And the more there is an obsession with attacking Jewish people, the more of an obsession it becomes overall for all of us. This is why, although this whole Israel-Palestine conflict is not remotely as deadly as so many other conflicts that are going around in the world, we don't really see those, and we focus on this. I mean, there are lots of people who are being killed in Nigeria, massacred in masses. In Sudan, there is an actual genocide going on. Who's talking about it? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Honestly, nobody cares, because nobody cares about Africa. Nobody cares about societies that don't actually play a big role in our history and religion and culture. Maybe we should be caring about them, but apparently nobody cares. It doesn't play that big of a role. And I want to sit here and act like, oh no, this is just because people are hypocritical and they're ignorant. Well, I look at myself. Do I really care? I can't really find it in myself to pay that much attention to what's happening in Sudan, or what's happening in even Nigeria, or what's happening in different African countries. We just we focus so much on what is happening in Israel. It matters a lot to us. It is in an odd and weird sense relatable to everyone. And for me personally, I would say I just have a personal history and a personal interest with all of this. And I don't know, maybe there's more behind this. You know, when I came back from Israel, I thought I'm a little bit amazed by how Israeli people are, with how Israeli society is, and how so much of the world is like hates Israelis, hates Jews, and makes up all kinds of shit about them that is clearly not true. And it clearly can't be because of the way Jews are. Because if you actually went and and experienced Jewish culture and Jewish people and Israeli people, you wouldn't come to all those ridiculous conclusions that people around the world come, that these are evil people who are trying to control the world and and whatever there is. So I thought at that point, maybe there is something supernatural, maybe there is something spiritual about this. Maybe there is something else behind this. And I even discussed this with a Jewish friend of mine in Germany, and he was a little bit amazed to hear how I felt about all of this. And he said, maybe you have a Jewish spirit, maybe you have a connection to it. And I thought, yeah, that's of course a very nice explanation. I don't know.
And that's the Jewish thinking. Like, this is how we describe converts to Judaism. Those are people who have a Jewish soul.
Yeah. But I don't know. This is just it's an interesting way to explore why people are thinking this way, to explore why I think about it this way, and why other people in general think about it. Maybe if you ask somebody else, they would have even more insightful remarks about this. This is an interesting topic.